So today we're going to be looking at different versions of CBBC games. So here I am on the Danger Mouse game page, and if I go into the game, you can see that it's this game/embed link. Now this bbc.co.uk/game/embed is there for every single game that's accessed directly from the website, including the Danger Mouse game right here, the World's Witch Magic Adventure, and literally any CBBC game you can imagine. If you go into the game, it will always start with bbc.co.uk/game/embed. Now what about the part afterwards? Well, this is an ID that's different based on the game you're playing. For older games, it's usually a bunch of random letters that begin with G. Every CBBC game actually has two IDs. The one you can see right here is called the public ID, because it's the ID used when accessing the game from the public CBBC website. But on newer games, it actually says words, most commonly beginning with CBBC, as you can see. The second type of ID is called the dev ID, which I'll get to in a bit. The part starting with the question mark and goes afterwards is the exit game URL. It isn't really that important, it's just the link the exit button takes you after you click it. You can set it to whatever link you want and it'll still work. Now let's look at the dev versions. To access the dev versions, you want to open up the Inspect Element feature on your web browser. Now you want to go to Sources and open up the www.bbc.co.uk one, and you'll find this folder that starts with children/assets/games. Now you want to copy the name of this folder and put it after the bbc.co.uk in the link. As you can see, I've done it right here, and if we can go to that page, you're now on the dev version of the game. Now the dev versions of the game always look different to the regular versions. Like here, there's whiteboards instead of black borders, and you can't see the exit button, but they're still the same game. Some games don't run properly in the dev versions, like Genie games. So let's look at what's actually in this URL for the dev version. So this CBBC-Danger Mouse is the dev ID of the game. If you change this to something else, you get to the dev version of a different game. But the really important part about dev versions is the number after this. This is the version number. If you change this, you get a different version of the game. So if I switch this to, let's say, 50, you can see that I get a different version of the game. This is especially useful in speedruns if you want to use glitches that have been patched out. And at the end of the URL, there's the /index.html. That's just needed to make the game run. So to recap, if you go into a CBBC game from the public page, you get to the public version of the game, which starts with bbc.co.uk/game/embed, followed by the game ID, and optionally an exit game URL. If you open up Inspect Element and open up www.bbc.co.uk and copy and paste the link that starts with children/assets/games, you get to the dev version of the game, which starts with bbc.co.uk/children/assets/games, followed by the dev ID and then a version number, and then index.html.